How are we doing today? Welcome to the Wrestling Figure Forum. I'm Jason and Sessel. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, man?
Oh, pretty good. So we were here Sunday talking about Survivor Series, and we're back on the regular night Friday, talking about a few things that happened this week.
Yeah, we'll briefly talk about the MLW, some Ring of Honor, and of course Impact, AEW, and WWE.
All right, where do you want to start out? MLW?
Well, why don't we start with MLW real quick, because it'll be real brief. MLW, they continued their Opera Cup series and all that. This time it was Richard Holiday and TJP, who's from Impact.
And Richard Holiday, he's got that Caribbean Championship.
Yeah, basically, he's not really the Caribbean champion. He was stolen from Savio Vega, one of your faves.
I love him.
From his IWA Puerto Rico wrestling company and all that. And he's just holding on. They haven't really advanced anything with him and Savio Vega and all that stuff. But they went back but it was him and TJP in the Opera Cup, the second round of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
TJP's getting around.
Yeah, he is. Well, he's being allowed to do stuff because Impact is really cool about doing that with their competitors, giving them chances to be elsewhere. And so it was Richard Holiday's size and strength against TJP's speed and high flying ability and agility. They did prove it with one another by, basically the power moves against the speed moves. It was a pretty decent match, very back and forth. Two guys who don't really wrestle each other that often, I would say.
Holiday, I haven't seen much of him at all, really, because even with the Dynasty, there wasn't a spotlight on him as much as like trying to establish Hammerstone and with MJF starting there.
Yeah, and once MJF's contract came up with MLW and he went to AEW, Richard Holiday got put in the forefront, so he's been doing a lot more. They did show a little segment with him and Gino Medina, who was part of it, but Gino apparently is now not even part of the little Dynasty thing, and they had a back and forth.
Yeah, I thought he was saying something to him there.
Yeah, I quit, you're fired, I quit, you're fired. It was that kind of Abbott and Costello kind of thing.
But he a dynastic mug.
Yeah, he always used the dynastic and all that.
But dynastic.
But the match between Holiday and TJP, it went a good 10 minutes or so.
Sure.
But Richard Holiday ended up winning. He likes to use the move that Dustin Rhodes used, the curtain call, that little spinning suplex and all that stuff. He pinned TJP about 10
He did it pretty good with TJP.
Yeah.
TJP, always... he always...
Twists, yeah.
There you go,
Being a lighter guy, he's a lot easier to deal with. Another match they had, MLW signed this guy who I can only assume it really comes from the independents and all that, because I don't really know hardly anything about this guy. His name's Calvin Tankman.
Okay.
He's a bit of a big
guy,
sort of heavy set.
He's kind of like a Keith Lee, huh?
In a way.
Well, I mean, they're showing him as really agile, though. They're showing him as being able to really do agile things. So it reminded me of Keith Lee.
Yeah,
because of that
but
big guy with the.
Yeah, we just didn't really see a whole lot of agility with him and all that. It was a real basic. It looked like a
squash
introduction squash match against some guy, Rob Mater and all that. I mean, it lasted less than a minute and a half, so you don't really get to see nothing. It was just a way for him to be debut super strong and look like some kind of major force.
Just let you know, no, we got a roster. We're here. We're good.
Slowly, they're trying to...
And they're still talking about Davey Boy. He's in the Grey Cup tournament. We'll see him next week.
Yeah.
So he hasn't left yet. I think maybe Ryan Pillman is gone. Yeah.
I don't know what his status right now
He's on
at the
Dark
moment.
Next week.
But, that's because his contract with MLW is one of the first ones where it gives him leniency to be able to work with other companies.
But I wonder if that guy they're pairing him up with on AEW, I wonder if they're really...
Griff Garrison? We'll talk about that here in a brief, because I did read a little article about something he talked about on somebody's podcast and all that.
But we do have Leo Rush, though.
He's coming in. He's going to be doing some matches and stuff, and I guess they're maybe thinking of putting him doing a match with Myron Reed and all that.
Right out of the gate, Myron's already put it out there, So
we'll see
that
how
makes sense, but it really came off like his debut is going to be this match.
Could be.
in December at the event.
It's a good possibility.
It makes sense. I mean, getting Leo coming in, just putting the belt on him to kind of establish it.
Right, right.
Reestablish it.
So there'll be some interesting stuff coming forward. And like you said, next week we'll see Davey Boy Smith and Low Key go against each other, which should be a really good match.
That should be really good.
That one should be a really entertaining match between the two and all that. And then the other one is going to be ACH coming back to MLW, and he's facing somebody. I right off the top of my head, I can't think who it would be, but
I forgot.
But I'm sure it'll be a pretty entertaining match. Was what I'm thinking.
Sure.
But the second match that MLW had in the Opera Cup was Filthy Tom Lawler against Rocky Romero, who represents New Japan.
The other match was the AAA star, but I just can't place his name.
The Laredo Kid.
Laredo Kid, thank you.
There we go.
Right,
yeah,
we got it.
There we go.
All right, but yeah, Rocky Romero.
Yeah.
The patch. No, I'm familiar with this guy. He goes back.
Yeah, you know Rocky Romero.
Yeah.
Because if you've got, history in watching a lot of New Japan and stuff and all that, he was once member of the Forever Hooligans with Alexei Kozlov, and then later on he was with Trent as part of Roppongi Vice.
That's where I remember him.
He also created and gave the Roppongi name to Sho and Yo, who were members of Chaos in New Japan. But they were known as Roppongi 3K.
Wasn't that also the organization in Get Smart? Wasn't it Chaos?
Chaos, yeah. But they spelt theirs with a K. The one in New Japan is just the regular one.
Missed it by that much.
Yeah.
All right.
But these guys went back and forth. Lawler and Rocky Romero, both, especially Romero is a veteran. He's been doing it for so long and all that. Still in great shape for a guy who's been doing it as long as he has. Filthy Tom's done a really good job transitioning from being a UFC type fighter.
And he still's got his dude with him. He still comes out the gi.
Yeah,
guy.
Yeah, that's
and he's legit.
Yeah, Daniel Gallinari was an actual, I believe, a judo fighter.
Yeah, he reminds me of Royce Gracie.
Yeah,
it's not.
He was in that kind of fighting style and all that, and came into wrestling once. Pretty much, I guess his career for that style of fighting.
So he's with Tommy.
He's part of
So the thing is, dude, Tom comes out in his regular shorts, but his
wrestling tights were also
they're like jean shorts.
Yeah,
dude.
Basically a Davey
and he comes
style.
out with the cowboy hat. He totally with his black boots. He looked like urban cowboy or some.
Well, there's a reason why he's been doing that is because before MLW stopped with all the stuff that was going on, he had a thing going on with the Von Erichs.
Right.
So he's ragging on them and being from Texas and all that. So that's where he's doing his.
I just thought it was really funny that the shorts look like, even though there's spandex and red shorts.
I was wondering what lady wrestler he stole them from.
But yeah, he went over though.
But
expected.
Yeah, Lawler ended up catching Rocky Romero.
Yeah, I don't see
in
either.
A pin.
I mean, I didn't see him winning over the AAA. Laredo Kid. They're probably just there for feature enhancement.
Supposedly, the MLW has a working relationship with AAA.
So you think there's a chance next week he'll
next
win?
Week's Laredo Kid ACH one, I would say, is a bit of a toss up, sort of like Davey Boy Smith and Low Key. I mean, that I didn't expect to see those two match up.
Yeah,
I would have expected more
if
Low Key
goes over, then I would think Davey Boy's headed out.
I would have expected more to be at Low Key Laredo Kid, and then an ACH maybe Davey Boy. That way you sort of got that. Oh well, you could predict who's going to win kind of thing.
And where's King Mo fit into this? Well, we don't see King Mo. Where's this guy?
Supposedly with him and all that, they did a little side angle with him and the guy from American Top Team and all that, talking about how. Oh, Low Key got in, but why didn't King Mo and all this? So I'm assuming what's going to happen is Davey Boy Smith's going to be the win because King Mo or some group there is going to stick their nose and prevent Low Key from getting ahead and all that. That gives Davey Boy a second shot at, a back-to-back
and
cup type thing.
And Hammerstone still being, pushed.
Yeah, they stated this week that Hammerstone, after his attack,
he called in
by Contra and all this, said he was hurt and injured, had all these, so I think they're going to let that sort of drag for a little bit.
And so, earlier on in the episode, they did ask him about Hammerstone.
Yeah, Richard Holiday.
And he kind of, had this demeanor like, oh, no, yeah, we know, but kind of blown it off. I'm sure with them pushing Hammerstone, look more towards facing Contra on the babyface side of things. Are they going to restart Dynasty? You think they're just going to fizzle it out?
No, I think
people.
It's hard.
I don't see Hammerstone going forward. Something's going to happen there.
It's hard to say. There's a good possibility that maybe it'll be him and Holiday, but if Hammerstone ends up, being the guy who defeats Fatu, maybe there'll be some type of a jealousy thing, and that'll cause the break.
I'm really thinking they want Hammerstone to be some kind of face.
I think little by little, yeah, because he's actually going out there and defending. He would defend his title, even whether it was here or before they stopped. He would go over to Japan and he would defend it against other people.
Well, I mean, a heel character would kind of, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing with him now. With him calling from the hospital and going, I'm going to be there.
A two heel one. Yeah, you don't usually see that happen, but I think that's a good way for them to actually flip him into a face.
All right, cool, man. What about ROH? What's going on?
Ring of Honor, they had actually 3 little things that went on this one instead of the regular 2 matches that they usually do.
Yeah, saw the EC3 there with the Briscoe.
Right, he was going against Jay Briscoe, former 11-time tag champ, I believe a 3-time heavyweight champ, because, Jay Briscoe's got some, weird issue with EC3 coming out and watching their matches and stuff like that. But
yeah, he's moving, boy.
So
EC3's one play from Moose and impacting down to Briscoe.
Yeah, they got ready to start doing their matches, and they trying to play their psychological games with one another. But this match actually went really short.
Yeah,
and ended up Jay Briscoe getting himself disqualified and all that because he was getting irritated with the way EC3 was trying to run this match, trying to get him off his game and stuff.
Get in his head, just complete mind games.
Right. So we'll see a continuation of this in some form and all that. What it'll be. It just all depends. We'll see.
So before the big reveal match, what was that middle match?
The middle match, it was a pure wrestling match. Went by the basic pure rules like they did in that tournament, and they're actually having those kind of matches now as regular.
Right, I didn't see this.
It was a member of the foundation, basically Jay Lethal,
right,
and he was going against LSG. Which, if people don't know, his name is Luis Saint Giovanni.
Mm-hmm.
And LSG, for a while there, was in a tag team called Coast to Coast. But they've went their separate ways. They're no longer doing tags. But the interesting about this one is Jay Lethal and LSG have a little bit of a backstory, which I know backstory is something that you like.
Yes.
And during the show, when they've had special matches and all that, they do a little backstory between each guy where there's little interviews and talks, especially if they've met in some form or fashion. Well, actually, probably about 15 years or so ago, back when LSG was in high school, he was a perennial baseball player for his high school.
And then he tripped on LSD.
And
LSG was tripping.
And so he, coming from Jersey, just like Jay Lethal, Jay Lethal was working, early in his career for indie companies and stuff, and they had a wrestling match in the Jersey area, and LSG ended up going and seeing it. He actually showed pictures of taking pictures with Jay Lethal after the event, like in a fan get together type.
Harking back to the Mick Foley.
Yeah.
Ricky, was it Jimmy Snuka off that cage in MSG?
Exactly.
He's in the.
Exactly.
Well, also too, wasn't there another story about Christian and Edge in the crowd at WrestleMania 6, right?
Yeah,
there's all Warrior and Hogan there in Toronto.
There's a lot of guys.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, when there's the connection. And there's that picture too about Chris Jericho with Ricky Steamboat, and how he idolized Ricky and how his dream was to be Intercontinental Champion.
Right.
Those are nice.
So these guys did have a little connection, and LSG, doing singles now, wanted to prove himself, because he's always known as a tag wrestler and all that. And so he felt this was a good way to go against Jay Lethal and all that, show his wrestling ability in the pure wrestling match. So they, it was a nice little exchange back and forth, moves, combination of moves, counters, and countering their counters, trying for pinfalls, submission maneuvers, Jay Lethal going for figure fours, because that's one of the people they loved was Ric Flair, and LSG did during some of the match get a little frustrated, try a little cutting of a little corner here and there and all that. Probably youthful frustration and all that, facing a guy who has a lot of years of experience on him. But it was a good back and forth match. But it did end up going, I believe it was a 15 or 20 minute time limit. So with the for these pure matches, if the time limit does come to a draw, they do have 3 judges, and it ended up being the judges went, I believe it was a unanimous 3-0 for Jay Lethal, and
favoritism.
The only reason I could see why they did it was that LSG did grab for a rope break only one time, where Jay Lethal didn't at one point never go for a rope break. So I think they gave the slight
pure rules. So,
right. I think they just believed that Jay Lethal had a slight edge just because he didn't have to use a rope break where LSG did, and maybe they felt he had more of a commanding go during the match, to where there were times where LSG had got him outside and looked to maybe hope to get more of a count out one and all that. Wasn't really being the aggressor inside and where Jay was. So, I mean, it was a really good match, though. Very enjoyable.
Sure.
Don't very often see a time limit match. There's always something happens before it runs out.
All right, and then what about that third one? We got
the third one
here.
The third one was a really interesting one. Matt Taven was going against Bateman. And Bateman was a guy that Ring of Honor had signed this last year from the United Wrestling Network out in the California area and all that. Bateman is part of Vincent's little group when he broke away from Matt Taven and TK O'Reilly in the Kingdom and turned on them to create his own little psychedelic faction and all that. And so Matt Taven is
LSG.
Yeah, no kidding. Here we go with it. But so Bateman and Matt Taven had a nice little match. They showed their wrestling skill sets. They showed the aggression. Matt Taven showed his aggression out on Bateman because he really wants to get back at Vincent. But Bateman wants to, prove to himself to Vincent, and feels he can handle Matt Taven and stuff. This match, probably, I believe it was about another 15-minute match or so and all that. Matt Taven did end up getting the victory over Bateman. But when that had happened, Bateman did attack him. Vincent did come out.
Shenanigans.
Vincent, gets on the mic, starts spieling off his little, crazy little talk that he likes to do, constantly saying...
Is he like a Charlie Manson?
Yeah, I would say it was like a very Charles Manson type thing, always always finishing the man with a man, you know what I'm talking about, man.
Hey, man.
Exactly.
It's the future, man.
And
wrestling, man.
When they were beating on him and all that, this is where the big shock came from. All of a sudden, you just start hearing...
Maria!
You start hearing music.
Maria Kanellis. I couldn't believe it. She looks great.
Mike Bennett comes rolling out. But Mike Bennett comes rolling out in this plaid dress outfit. I mean, I was
dressed up, huh?
He was dressed up, but I was not a fan. I mean, I like flannel and all that, but not in an entire dress suit.
Maria suited him up.
Maybe
we'll blame it on Maria.
We'll blame it on Maria.
No, but yeah, he's back. The Kingdom looks like they're back, huh?
Yeah, old tag team partners, members of the Kingdom. Because, like you said, yes, Mike Bennett was a member of the Kingdom with Matt Taven.
He was the leader, wasn't he?
It actually altered.
The
originator of the Kingdom was actually Adam Cole.
Oh, baby.
Adam Cole was friends with Mike Bennett. Mike Bennett brought in Matt Taven. And it sort of altered who was the leader of it.
So Adam Cole's going to go back to ROH?
No, not
probably
likely.
Not with Britt AEW. He'll probably be going there if he goes anyway.
I would think that would be the
But yeah, that was great, you know? Yeah, that was a good reveal.
They got back together. Mike Bennett ended up having a little...
And now we know Mike's going to start working again. He's going to start wrestling.
Yeah.
After 5 years, right? When was the last time you had a match that meant anything?
Actually, it would have been probably couple months ago because he
was it
did.
the Impact?
No, actually, he fought Nick Aldis for the NWA heavyweight
Oh,
title.
okay, that's right. He did have that NWA.
Because
but the COVID, I forget. But they did have those.
Because the NWA has been doing a cooperative little thing with the United Wrestling Network,
Gotcha.
and in their shows, the primetime ones that you can.
The Pro Shingles.
No, this one is more one that you have to actually pay for. You have to go onto certain websites like Fight TV, where it would cost you about $8 for every episode that you watched. But I think the episodes are maybe an hour, 90 minutes. I'm not really sure because I'm not going to pay for it. It's just not enough for me to do. But that was his last match before him coming back to Ring of Honor. His match against Nick Aldis for the NWA title.
All right, well, cool. Well, so Impact. What about Impact?
Okay, well, Impact, we had a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm. Let's go from the beginning.
Well, that should be the women's tag team match, I believe was the first thing.
Okay.
Because they're doing the women's tag tournament, and which we saw a new pair of ladies that came into Impact, Ashley Vox, and I believe it's... Delmo, she's got such a tough little name. Delmo something and all that.
I mean, Ashley, I remember from NWA.
Yeah, well, I know both of these ladies because I used to watch an organization that you never did watch. But if everybody out there remembers Chikara Pro Wrestling, which had a lot of guys who had done stuff for maybe a couple other companies here and there. These ladies were known as the Sea Stars in Chikara, and they showed up as the Sea Stars again here in Impact. And they ended up facing Kara Hogan and Tasha Steelz.
They used a lot of references. Matt Stryker, who was their guest commentary for filling in for Madison Rain, who had to be at a court hearing.
Right,
he was later.
Yes, he was.
But Matt Stryker was there. Good to hear Matt Stryker.
The guy
Josh Matthews.
A guy I'd love to see do more stuff with.
Well, he does his homework. He's good to listen to. He knows what he's talking about. He's a good play-by-play guy.
Right.
He's kind of a Mike Tenay JR hybrid.
Yeah, he knows
a lot about the wrestlers that people don't know about, a lot about the luchas, a lot about Mexico.
Well, he was an educator. So
exactly, and he was in Lucha Underground, so he's very familiar with them. But the Sea Stars, I like how it's sisters, Sea Stars.
Yeah.
But I like how all of these nautical references, I can't really remember any of them. Do you remember any of the puns? There were too many to mention, but it was pretty good the way Matt Stryker was coming up with a lot of them.
It was very entertaining listening to the description of the match.
Matt was really overshadowed. He was showing up, Josh.
Yeah.
We knew he would. I mean, Josh was like, he was getting kind of frustrated, I think.
Yeah. It was very entertaining. It was a good match. Vox and Delmo. Ashley Vox got speed and agility where Delmo had the size on all the girls. She showed her strength and her ability towards Tasha Steele and Kara Hogan.
And it seems like weekly we're seeing the tag team thing because of the belts that they're wanting to reestablish.
Yeah, they're definitely bringing in a lot of gals, and hopefully, we'll see the Sea Stars continue to be there along with a couple of others, which we will just discuss here briefly in the future. And but it was a fine back and forth match. Tasha and Kira, they being a team, and they've been tagging
Kira.
lately.
I do like Kira.
They have been tagging for a good while now, and so they have.
I'm not really familiar with the other girl, but they're like a
Tasha
team.
Steele?
Yeah, Tasha Steele. They are together. So.
Well, she was on NWA for a short time as well.
Okay.
And she also fought in Ring of Honor as well. So I am maybe a little more familiar with her than you are.
Yeah.
But she is a good fundamental wrestler.
But they seem to be an established team.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Win the tournament, they'll probably go.
I think they'll be, up in the semifinals for sure.
Sure.
But they have a real good chemistry because they've been doing this for like over a month or so, almost 2 months being together, doing stuff.
Yeah.
But definitely in the end, it was Hogan and Steelz beating the Sea Stars, advancing, moving on. They'll be facing whoever the winner of the Vienna Prazo and Kimberly versus Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary matchup.
I see them winning the whole thing. Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary. But unless there's some shenanigans.
I mean, there's a possibility. I'd almost put more money on Havoc and Nevaeh because they've been a tag team and have.
You don't think Father Mitchell will come out and screw Havoc?
Hey, anything is a possibility.
That'd be funny.
You never know. But
I mean, it seems like he's only around just for shenanigans.
Yeah, but my money would be on the Havoc and Nevaeh just because they've been the tag team out of all these teams and groups the longest in general. You know, because they were tag teaming long before they Havoc did even come back to Impact when they wrestled in the Ohio wrestling scene.
So after the first match, did we get that first segment there with Swinger in the hospital?
No, what it wasn't Swinger was in the hospital.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Scott D'Amore.
Yeah, Scott D'Amore is in the hospital. Yeah.
Scott D'Amore was in the hospital talking to a doctor about Johnny Bravo laying unconscious, and if he was fine, and the doctor said, well, there's a decision to be made, and Scott D'Amore's like, well, if we have to pull the plug, then let's
we gotta do it. He's
He's
still wearing his fanny bag, right?
No, the Swinger.
Oh no, wait, that's Swinger with the prison.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the hospital. Okay.
Yeah, you're getting ahead of yourself.
Boy, I am, aren't I?
But right. We'll get to that.
Go.
We'll get to that in a second.
You go.
So the doctor's saying that he's recovering really well. He should wake up any time, and hopefully we'll find out who did shoot Johnny Bravo, which later on in the show we did. So they cut through. So they got through that segment, and we then went on. There was a segment of, I believe it was the Beat Rohit segment was, and so he said, whoever wanted to come out, come on out. It ended up being Suicide.
Yeah.
He comes out because his music hits, gets in the ring. He's like, oh, you think you're funny, you think you're clever about this, he's insinuating stuff. He goes, well, this is not going to be for the title. You're not getting a title shot. You can try and beat me to get one, but you're not going to skirt, And we all know what he was probably talking about. I assumed, okay, it must be TJP. Since TJP has a history of being one of the people.
Yeah, they were going into the match with him, assuming
that it was him. Yeah. So we see this match, and it was a decent match. A bit of back and forth. Heat was always trying to tear off Suicide's mask to prove that it was him. So then, he could, catch TJP in the act of, trying to circumvent the rule that he can't face him anymore because he lost his match last week. So
he's one of the machines, Sessel.
Yes, which one though?
I mean, he's not the super one. That's for sure. That's Andre. Yeah, we know that.
But so the match goes back and forth. Heat finally does get the mask off, and if you were watching and paying attention, you could tell that it was not going to be him because
TJP came out.
Because TJP did come out shortly just after the belt or the mask came off.
Mm-hmm.
I could see like there was some blonde hair, so I assumed that it was like maybe Caleb Conley or somebody else, perhaps. And
or maybe,
whether they were
who was
show
the one guy with the blonde hair that was in the Ohio faction?
Oh, Jay Christ.
Yeah,
that would have been a really good one,
right?
Because we haven't seen him for many months.
Mm-hmm.
But TJP did come out on the stage. He then was like shocked to see who it was. Where he gets rolled up, and the mystery person ended up being Crazy Steve of all people. Crazy Steve, basically,
they're using him pretty good. Crazy Steve's kind of being filled in, on all of these little he's kind of the side gag of these little feuds.
Right.
Like with this one, he was the little side gag. Earlier on, he was a side gag with
Follow Ball, teaming with Follow Ball,
right?
With the North and stuff like that.
All the
he's been sneaking his way into everybody.
So they've been utilizing him really well.
Right. So with him pinning Heat, he's going to get himself a future X Division shot because you pin the champ in a non-title, you get your chance. So that was an entertaining, fun little thing there. Later on, we did get another segment, which we'll just get it over since you have a swinger fetish. You got
it's hilarious. He's so funny.
So we get to see Tommy Dreamer as the judge, but Madison Rain comes out.
He was the first judge, though.
He was that's what I was going.
Okay, so
he was the first. He was the first judge, but Madison Rain said you were the investigator.
So she was representing Swinger.
She was because he's the co-host to her, locker room talk.
she knows the most about it because nobody wants anything to do with it.
No,
So she just unfortunately knows the most about it. I guess to be a character.
She ended up being his defendant, and so Dreamer.
You think the Dieters know a little
So
more.
Dreamer agreed. He goes, "You have a fair point." So D'Lo Brown ended up being our judge for this proceeding.
So here come the judge.
That's right. Wearing the white, powdered wig.
Yeah, he had the whole thing.
The
yeah,
whole,
he was just like,
the whole gimmick and outfit
Yeah.
was there. So we see Tommy Dreamer, calling up people, whether it was Cody Deaner, whether it was Falaba, Falaba stating, that Swinger was upset that he wasn't the best man, so he believed that he did it because of that. They even had, I believe it was not Father James Mitchell. I don't think he was on there, but
Rosemary.
They
was
did
on the
have
scale,
Rosemary.
wasn't
They
she?
did have Rosemary, in which, I believe Tommy Dreamer said something about how Father James Mitchell talked about the sweet virgin blood, how powerful it was. And he did ask Rosemary if she did love him, which she stated that she didn't, but with his sweet, pure virgin blood at the pinnacle of its
Pinnacleness.
its heat for during a marriage time would be so powerful that she could use it to create a spell and just gain all this power and so on. Which then we get a surprise person busting into the courtroom, but John E. Bravo in his hospital gear,
Catheter and all.
every little thing.
So there's a scene there where,
Tommy Dreamer tugs him by his catheter. And all
oh
that.
boy, yeah.
And he tells him, he goes, Bravo, if you say it's not Swinger and that Rosemary didn't do it, how does you know? He goes, it's simple, because I could smell them. That right there would be a big clue.
I
for
knew
anybody who's
exactly. I
paying
knew right
attention.
away who they were talking
You
about.
said you
I knew
knew.
it was Triple X, one of them.
I had an idea. It's like if we smell them, then it had to be somebody that dealt with deodorant and all that stuff. And it ended up they had Larry D come up to the stands. They did the lie detector, with
Looking
the
like a
laptop.
blooded Shane Douglas.
Well, at first he was in his regular gear, and he passed the lie detector. But when Tommy Dreamer brought out the infamous cologne bottle with ring rust, spraying it in,
Is that like their
Larry D.
arrogance?
I guess so.
It's like, wouldn't that have been funny if Rick Martel would have made a cameo?
Oh, that would have
I
been
mean, people say he
magnificent.
wants nothing to do with wrestling. He doesn't really involve himself, but
That would be a great.
That would have been
or even
funny.
if they had a dude dressed up like
but
that.
of course, yeah, it's not big enough for probably to convince Rick
But
Martel to do something.
if they sprayed him, then all of a sudden he's dressed up.
or the
all in this
Bushwhackers
suit.
come in. The Bushwhackers and the Dieters need to have a face off, man.
They're so old. There's no way they can do anything anymore. But we got Lawrence D, and he confessed that he did it because Bravo took the one woman that he loved and all this stuff.
when that came from
Even
nowhere.
Well, if you remember watching in Wrestle House, she decided to use a pheromone type spell on Larry D that made him Lawrence D, dressed up looking like a quite stocky Shane Douglas, as you put it, and
It's
to
like
get Bravo to
like
be
the fragrance
jealous.
had the power.
Right. It was a spell cast on him by Rosemary to get Bravo jealous, to make him finally do what ended up being.
So now
in
is
the
Rosemary going to end up with? I mean, did we finalize this? Did it end with him being dapper still? Did it wear off?
Yeah, it actually does. Yes, the ring rust scent does wear off on him. He'll go back to being Larry D as long as he doesn't have the ring rust
What
sprayed
does
at
his
him.
partner think?
He thinks it's absolutely ridiculous. What it seems like.
So
Judge D'Lo ends up claiming that Swinger is the innocent man. He gets out free, and that ends up being
good times
that.
are had by all. Fanny bags are out. That
Yes.
fanny bag on his prison outfit swinging. That was
It was pretty funny. God knows why it's there. But so
the fact that they'd allow it in prison.
So now we finally finished with the Who Shot Bravo and all that.
We're finally done. Now what's Dreamer gonna do?
Well, Who knows? I'm sure they'll come up with something. But I figure this will lead into some kind of story with Bravo having issues with Rosemary and maybe even Taya Valkyrie. So who knows? Maybe he might find somebody to confront them.
Yeah.
Deal with them in their own ways.
Sure.
So we'll then get on to we see Deanna Prazo and Kimberly talking to Father James Mitchell, asking if they could deal with the Sue Young thing, because during the show there was a segment with them in which Susie comes out and talks about that there's somebody bad coming for him, and then they, with some nice little camera work, somebody ended up portraying a body double for the Susie, so she could also come out as Sue Young, chase off both of them. And then when that segment ended, her standing next to Susie with her back to the camera. So it seemed
that was cool.
Both of them were there at the same time. And then she walks off. And then with the camera work again, she turns around and it's still Susie.
Better than Undertaker versus Undertaker?
SummerSlam. Lot better because of how the production was for the camera work and the way they did it. So
no, I thought it was good.
So we got that going. But the two other matches that happened, the North, Ethan Page had to face somebody of the Good Brothers choosing, because apparently Ethan Page is supposedly attacked the big LG, Doc Gallows, which he's not supposed to be wrestling for at least the next 4 weeks.
And his partner's pissed off because now this freezes the titles for 6 weeks.
Right. Yes, Alexander's all, how can you be so happy about this? This means we don't get our match with them. Whatever was going on, or whatever, if you were involved in this, how could you? Because now we're not going to be able to do it, which Page then realized, yeah, that wasn't really the smartest thing to do. And so they had the singles match, which Anderson, Machine Gun, said, we have a phenomenal opponent for you. And so Ethan Page comes out to the ringside.
This was
waiting.
really good. Well, because the build-up was like, AJ stuff.
Yeah, everybody they know their buddies.
So they did the logo, the theme song, the old theme song.
The I am theme song. That
I missed that song.
It was a good song.
I like AJ.
It was a good song.
I like AJ. So.
And so when it comes out, it ends up being Swoggle.
Well, was it? It was the Swanominal, or how they play the word?
Swognominal.
The Swognominal.
AJ Swoggle or something like that.
Was funny.
He had the P1 on his tights and the gloves and stuff.
And you know what? Them being still
comical
friends and everything, I wonder if this was something they told AJ about. Like, hey, watch the show. Or I wonder if they're riveting.
Do you care if we do it, kind of thing?
They look kind of modern, the outfit. I wonder if Swoggle got like a modern pair of tights from AJ. He's like, yeah, do it. That's funny.
He would probably go run with it. It would be hilarious because they all know.
Because he does look like a mini version of AJ now with his long hair and a beard.
Yeah,
he does.
I will give you that. Yes, he does. Swoggle does look like a smaller version of AJ style.
So it's cool.
So this match starts off very comedic and stuff,
Oh no, you don't say.
With Paige having fun with it until he gets a little humiliated by Swoggle.
Mm-hmm.
Then he starts beating on him like he does, but pretty much in the end, Anderson gets his little 2 cents worth into the match, distracts his Ethan Page,
and he gets the win.
And Swoggle gets him win a schoolboy
roll
up.
He goes over
the pin,
right there, clean.
And Ethan Page just loses his mind. He can't believe it. I was
now
laughing.
Swoggle and Crazy Steve can make an argument. Tag contendership.
Why not? Why not?
So he goes over there.
So you see Swoggle beat Ethan Page, and Page just loses his mind.
And then did we get the segment with Crazy Steve and Swoggle in the back after that?
There was a small segment that TJP
because
congratulated.
He said that thing. It was
funny.
Yeah.
He said that he told Swoggle that was phenomenal. He said, Steve, thanks for getting dressed up as Suicide, playing with Raheem. And then the funny part was, which I did have to explain to Jason because he did not know.
Yeah, I didn't know.
where he forgot about that one little thing is when he told Steve, he asked Steve, Crazy Steve, did you see the look on Rahit's face? And he's like, no, and he starts laughing.
And I just thought he was doing it because his character just he's not paying attention, you know.
But I know I've stated in the past that Crazy Steve is a legally blind person who wrestles. He only sees shadows and figures and lights and shapes. He doesn't see the script visuals and all that stuff. So, and so that was the little
Stan
that
Hansen.
was Stan Hansen, and there's been a few other people that have had that unfortunate visual issues. So that was the actual little joke behind it, is that Crazy Steve likes to joke about that he's legally blind, you know, so all those kind of things. So you have Brian Myers come through the door, pretty much call Swoggle a joke, Crazy Steve's a nobody, and TJP pretty much a nothing compared to him as a professional wrestler, and goes on his way, which
He can barely say that to the three guys he said it to.
I know.
It's so funny. I mean,
I
this
know.
guy,
He's coming off.
I mean, he's a
like
great guy too, but the action figure
Yeah.
stuff I know him more than the in-ring stuff.
Right, because he's never gotten that really fair shot
Yeah.
in wrestling unless
Exactly.
he's wrestled in the indies and stuff like that. So I could see TJP and him going at it, or maybe even Crazy Steve and him possibly, you know, with Myers and stuff. It'd be interesting because we've already seen it with Swan, and we could see it with them, and which would be really nice, and I think would be really good matches.
Cool.
Which then leads us to our main event.
Now, before the main event, there was a segment where the Machine Guns, Alex Shelley, came back, right?
Oh yes.
And they were saying before the champs are ready to come back, we do have the unfinished business with the Triple X putting me out,
Right.
right?
Because Alex Shelley's back from
and then
the next
North.
movie.
So yeah.
And then they wanted the North. True.
So we do have them back too. So which is great.
So hopefully maybe
Tag
next
team
week.
division's back in full gear after the champs come back, and
Right.
between now and then we'll get all of that number one contender stuff. So
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see next week. Maybe it'll be Triple X and the Motor City Machine Guns.
yeah, no Mac and no Moose on this episode.
Nothing with Moose really. No.
Yeah.
This is a week where I guess they just didn't do anything with that.
Mm-hmm.
But there was, I believe, a little segment with Rich Swann and the Mac, and then Chris Bay comes in trying to finagle a title match out of it, which will lead to a match next week with
Now, I
the
wonder
Mac against Chris Bay again.
I wonder if Moose and Chris Bay are going to be linked up together, going after Swan and Mac. Maybe.
It's who knows? It's a possibility.
Chris
There
Bay
could be.
kind of has swagger Moose
he's
stuff.
been trying to chum up and get like jump the line. With Rich Swann.
Yeah, so it just makes sense that he would get with Moose. But okay, so the main event.
So the main event was Rich Swann. He was going against Ken Shamrock.
Looks good. How old is Ken now? He's 55 or?
Yeah, I believe he might
I don't know.
be
He's
55.
50 something. He looks
definitely
good,
in his mid 50s, but he's in really good shape for a guy.
Yeah.
But so this match, it was Ken Shamrock with his striking ability and limited wrestling skill that he has at his time of age, and against Rich Swann's speed, agility, his kick style, his also striking ability. It was a pretty decent match. Rich Swann, gets a slight advantage in the beginning, but then Ken Shamrock, being the striker he is, his hard punches, kicks, knees, grounding Rich Swann, so he couldn't do a whole lot of the high flying abilities that he's known for.
Mm-hmm.
When you get basically to the end of it and all that, Rich Swann did get Ken Shamrock in a pin because Shamrock went for a rear naked choke, drops to the ground, and Rich Swann basically does a la Bret Hart over Roddy Piper so many decades ago, pinning him while he has his head trapped in the sleeper, and gets a 1-2-3, which Ken Shamrock,
is a good pin.
Which is a good pin for.
It still makes
that
Ken
kind of
look
move.
strong. Those type of pins, it's kind of like it's more about the lock or the hold getting you down than it is being
you getting your move countered,
outsmarted, I guess.
Yeah.
Hold.
So We see Ken Shamrock screaming at the referee. He ends up punching him in the ribs, and then him and Sammy start beating on it. Sammy gets the bat, threatens to smash Swanee right in the eye, like Eddie Edwards. And of course, Eddie Edwards isn't going to stand for that. He comes out, fights, attacks. Tries to help Swan out, but he gets caught by Ken Shamrock and all that. They strap him down using tape, and then of course Sammy's gonna do what Sammy does. He
gets the raspberry.
He hits Eddie Edwards, in the head area near the eye.
Real good right there.
Yeah, he did, causing him.
Got a big clump of it, right? Just this big clump of blood.
Big clump right in his head. I know, it's amazing.
Kind of pouring down.
So we're gonna probably see a rekindling of that feud going on and all that.
How dare he gave him the raspberry?
So, I mean, that's how Impact went. There was a match that really wasn't a match with Falaba and Daivari, which got interrupted by Eric Young and
Eric Young.
Yeah, and his guy Joe Doring from
Joe Dirt,
who came from across the sea. But we're not going to get really into that one because it's pretty much the same stuff from like the week before. They're just trying to run Rampage.
Anyway, AEW.
Not very interesting for that.
We'll have to see more from that. But Eric Young still does one hell of a pop.
Yeah, he does. He does a picture perfect one. I'll give him this for sure. Very, very Paul Orndorff.
All right, so before we get into Dynamite, which I didn't see anyway, we both saw Dark. What were some of the highlights of Dark?
Dark. They did have the best thing in the whole show was definitely the three-way tag match. That had Joey Janela, Sonny Kiss against Dark Order's Evil Uno and Stu Grayson against the team of Chaos Project, which is Dr. Luther and Serpentico. This match was really good.
We talked last time about this Dr. Luther and Serpentico. I like how he's just taking Serpentico and throwing him in the fire like that.
That happened in this match. You saw times where Luther took Serpentico and he threw him in spear-wise into it was either Stu Grayson or Evil Uno.
I think it's funny.
He body slammed and suplexed Serpentico on I think it was probably Joey Janela. There was some good back and forth between Chaos Project and the Dark Order. Sonny Kiss was in the match for a good portion of the time, taking a real beating between the two groups until he managed to get to Joey Janela. And Janela, he came in like a ball of fire going after all of them.
Yeah.
Until he got blindsided at one point. The Dark Order, Grayson and Uno, these guys have tagged for a long time. They were known as a different tag team down in the Independents. So if anybody's familiar with the Super Smash Brothers and you've seen those guys in the Independents, that's exactly who the Dark Order, Grayson, and Uno is. So you know that they've tagged for quite some time, so they have a very good flow between one another and movesets. You saw typical movesets from the Dark Order. You saw specific moves from Chaos Project.
Movesets. I thought you said movesets.
No, movesets.
Like, what's a moveset?
Double team moves and stuff like that.
That's not me.
So it was a really good match. They did have a couple segments on the outside. I believe there was a point where even Joey Janela was on the top turnbuckle and dove out to the floor and crashed down through both the Dark Order and Chaos Project. So, I mean, it was really entertaining to see how it was. But in the end, it was the Dark Order doing the fatality on Joey Janela, getting the pin and winning the triple threat match. It was a very good one. A few other matches that we did see, we saw the recently turned heel Will Hobbs with Team Taz facing the newly signed Nightmare member family of Lee Johnson.
Okay.
He pretty much had his way with Lee Johnson. Lee Johnson
it was really just kind of like an enhancement match for him for Cobb.
A bit of a match for Hobbs.
Way to show you like why he's with Team Taz.
Yeah. He was wearing a new singlet of black and orange. For Taz and all that stuff.
What about the Blue Pants segment? I thought this was great. How she's her own woman now.
Oh,
she's
yes.
the only library.
The librarian.
I'm excited.
Leva Bates had a nice little unique shoot there in her library talking about that.
Because I was wondering.
She's drop the weight. She'll write her own story, make her own, thing.
Peter's gone up because that's the highlight right there, boy. Peter got his first win, man.
Yeah, Peter.
Can you believe it? 127-1.
No, actually, I think it's 125-2.
Way to go!
I believe it is. Yes, he got his first victory over.
He was more
Fuego del
surprised
Sol.
than anybody.
Yeah, he was very shocked and happy, but it was actually a pretty decent match.
It was no problem.
Fuego del Sol, for being a very lightweight masked wrestler, he has really good matches. He had actually a really good match with Brian Cage, I believe, a couple of darks back.
Well, Avalon comes from that pro shingle pedigree.
Yeah,
so we know what we're dealing with.
He comes from there as well. We let's see, what else did we see? There was also.
Well, we saw this Britt Baker segment.
Britt Baker, yeah, she had Taya Conte on there, and then after she had her dealings with them, she ended up having the Acclaimed on, where they could
rapping and
run their mouth and try and show that they're actually something. I'm not a big fan of
I'm
them.
impressed with these guys.
I'm not overly impressed with them, but they too had a match against
but if
a couple enhancements.
If they're good with those rhymes on the fly, I can see how the push is.
Yeah,
it's something there.
Because sometimes Mike's sometimes when it comes to some, mic skills more important than actual wrestling ability.
Well,
but they fought a couple of enhancements guys. We also saw. Kylie King get a second victory. She ended up facing who was it? Was
it Velvet?
Oh no, it was Rachel Chanel.
Oh, that's right. Because Velvet did have a match though.
Red Velvet did have a match against Tesha Price.
That's right.
Tesha Price and all that
right.
stuff. It was actually a pretty good match.
Mm-hmm.
So you saw Red Velvet get a victory. Kylie King got her second victory on Dark. So they're both definitely two ladies that are definitely coming up and all that. I could see.
Dark almost 3 hours. They're turning this into a show to watch every week.
Oh yeah,
they're giving us segments and they're giving us feuds and storylines and even the Guns had something going on, didn't they?
Yeah, they had a 6-man. They were the first match of the night.
Right.
It was the 6-man with Colton and Austin and Billy against 3 gentlemen. I think it was Cesar Bononi, KBH or KTB. I forget exactly how his letter thing goes. And a new guy, Seth Grigas, I think it was. Pretty decent sized group and all that. But you ended up seeing Colton was the one who ended up getting the pin.
Yeah.
I forget he used his daddy's famous.
Wouldn't it be funny if Billy was like, getting the pin still? You should know, boy.
No.
Have to daddy.
No, actually, I think daddy's there just for support.
Well, obviously he is, but wouldn't it be
Because,
funny if like they had him be a character where he's still like he's using his sons to wear out the opponents and he's going in for the pin.
And he goes for the pin.
They should do that. I don't know, whatever.
It'll be fun, but I think Billy's.
No, he's definitely just
he's doing this so the boys get that, because I can see eventually they're gonna have it go from just the Gun Club. Maybe they'll use the other moniker they do have a trade for it, the Sons of a Gun, but I'd rather them just keep the Gun Club and let.
Gun Club's good because it's also a moniker that you could have people come in. It can be a faction moniker.
Right, because it's eventually going to be Colton and Austin.
And then all of a sudden you'll hear, "Oh, you didn't know?" And it'll be Road Dogg's kids. You have a kid?
I'm sure he does.
And then
my bet is he has a dog.
It'll be the other guy's kids who, what's the guy's name? Chuck and Billy. It'll be Chuck.
Chuck Palumbo.
Chuck Palumbo.
If he has a kid. Who knows? Well, we did. There was a few other matches. I mean, there were many. It was almost a 3-hour show.
Oh, cool. Well, Dynamite. The only segment I saw, I watched on YouTube. I did see the Taz segment.
Yeah,
he wouldn't leave the ring. And
there was an issue.
Cody.
Yeah, he.
But everything else,
he has an issue that his belt isn't recognized. Which No company has ever recognized the FTW belt because it's just a belt that Taz created because he had issues.
It's like the $1 million belt.
Yeah, because he had issues because he never got a true heavyweight title shot pretty much anywhere except for ECW, which he did end up winning that belt.
Well, I'll tell you
That's
who's the champion of. You're champion of the Joneses.
Hmm.
You're the FTW champion. I think Taz would appreciate that. Champion of the Joneses. You're the champion Jones.
Yeah, well,
when you're wearing the belt,
we all know what the FTW truly stands for, but for me, I think it's for those wishing they were a heavyweight champ.
For those wishing.
Yeah, that's what it would be for Taz because he never got the true championship, a run in a big company that he ever really wanted.
It stands for the win, right?
Some might think that, but he did come out. He complained. Cody came out. He went in there. Cody stupidly turned his back to him, and then, of course, Taz does his little Taz mission.
He did the Taz mission, though. It was nice to see Taz get some action after all these years.
The only action he's had, because he got a little upset because if they talked about Taz's son, I believe his name is actually Tyler, but he goes by Hook.
Because of Red Hook,
Because of Red Hook, yes. That actually Taz's son has been trading at Cody's Nightmare Factory, and that if Taz was such a great manager and training guy, then his own son would learn under him, which was a pretty nice little dig.
The son was there. He walked off with his dad, so it kind of gives you the feeling that maybe the son now is going to kind of look at Cody as kind of a piece of crap for doing that with his dad. But you never know. The son left with the father.
True, and that's what you would expect him to do.
Right, exactly.
So he'll probably.
You don't know.
We could end up seeing his son debut and just be the little toady for the group and all that stuff.
But I guess we got a Rey Mysterio Dominic thing now with Taz and Hook.
Yeah, wonderful. Hopefully they don't keep fighting the same person for like 8 months.
Is Hook a captain?
I doubt it. So.
Too bad.
We'll see how that goes.
Well, what else happened on AEW? You got the floor because I didn't see it.
Okay, AEW. The very first match was the Hangman Adam Page against number 4 John Silver of the Dark Order.
Now John Silver is really being pushed. Like he's really being spotlighted on. He's a talent.
Yeah, he's been.
And
actually
I always
given a chance.
think of Long John Silver's, and we haven't had one here in so long. It's just he tortures me. This guy.
I know.
His name.
They seem to really enjoy. He's had a couple singles matches because Alex Reynolds was out for a little bit with the concussion that he'd got on a match on Dynamite a couple 2 or 3 weeks back. So they've been giving him a chance. He's been coming out having really good, phenomenal type matches. He showed the strength he has for a guy in his short stature. Even some of the agility that a guy like him with his thick muscular body can do. So he's actually impressed me because when I first saw John Silver, I really didn't think much of him. I just you were like the first thing I thought was, okay, he's just some short, stocky little jobber guy who's hanging on to Alex Reynolds, because I know who Alex Reynolds was because I had seen him in indies in the New York area because he used to tag with his brother back up in Pat Buck's company that he has up in the New York area, which guys like Falaba and a few others have come from and have did spots for different companies. So I knew about Alex Reynolds. John Silver, I didn't know him from a hill of beans because I'd never seen him actually do anything. But
what about a chest of gold? Did you know him from a chest of gold?
Not a chest of gold, not from Davy Jones's locker, nothing. I knew nothing about this guy. But
what if you were 10,000 leagues? All right, we're going.
It would have taken about 10,000 leagues for me to find any kind of video about this guy. But over his time getting these singles matches of late, he has impressed me. I mean, he is a talented guy.
Everybody in the Dark Order seems to really be moving. Like as far as like Brody. As far as Brody and me being out, they're all kind of, they're not being put on the side.
They're picking up.
They're holding very relevant. You even got the title match coming up with the girl.
Right.
What's her name?
Anna Jay.
Anna Jay. So.
Lovely Anna Jay.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been managing to, as some people would say, they've been managed to carry the bucket for keeping the Dark Order relevant. We have seen with Evil Uno, he's been more doing his recruitment in a different way than how Brody Lee has. Brody Lee, is more forceful, angry, aggressive, where Evil Uno is more the snake oil salesman trying to be very slick.
Good cop, bad cop.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, in itself could lead to a different story of a cracking of the faction. But that I wouldn't see until maybe way down the road a bit. But this kind of push with John Silva, also a lot of people see that this could also lead to a branch off one where he ends up breaking away from them, or
Oh, I
trying to
see
prove-
him breaking away. I see a lot of them breaking away from this. when it's all said and done.
Right now, the only ones I'd see doing the breakaway part would be maybe Uno, Grayson, and Silver, but in different ways.
Is Grayson the funny one?
No, Grayson is the serious fighter. He's the bald one.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
He wears the
Well,
face
which
paint.
one's the real funny one?
That's Silver.
That's Silver, right?
Silver's been the real goofball. He's been the
Right.
goofy
So,
one.
so yeah. So
He'd always get slapped by.
So definitely. So yeah,
Brody and all that.
Silver's gonna.
So I see
branch
there's possibilities of it happening.
out. Right.
But it was a really good match. I mean, these guys went back and forth. They showed their skills and abilities. It was a really enjoyable match. I liked it. But in the end, Adam Page did hit John Silver with his clothesline, his shotgun,
lariat clothesline there?
shotgun
The
lariat.
shotgun lariat, yeah.
He did, and he hit him hard enough with the spin, got the pin.
Mhm.
Dark Order comes in to gather John Silver, and Page has had history with the Dark Order before. And Uno comes to him and it's like, "Hey, we know that you lost friends, you feel alone, you feel by yourself and all that," and offers a hand. It's like, if you ever feel like you need to go somewhere, our door is open to you.
Mm.
But I can't see that sort of panning out. I can see them, constantly, trying for it. And I could see when Brody Lee does come back from his ankle injury, if they did the story just right.
What happened to Eric Rowan? I thought he was gonna come.
There was a lot of rumors about it, but who really knows? I mean, he could be recovering from an injury himself.
Well, honestly, you don't need him.
But you don't.
With Brody.
But you don't.
You don't
No,
need them
no.
attached to the hip everywhere.
No, you don't need to do that because that would just lessen Brody Lee.
So from there, what do we do?
We had a match of TH2 versus Top Flight.
Oh, Hybrid 2.
Yes,
Yes.
the Hybrid 2.
Yeah, right.
And-
I like these guys. These
Yeah.
are boys.
This came because of an incident. I believe it was on a dark.
They interfered last week in
yeah.
that match with the Young Bucks. Remember?
Yeah,
Because they're
had-
just jealous that people are just passing
everybody
them
else.
by.
Yeah, everybody else is getting all this attention and they're getting nothings. And they attacked Top Flight and the outside.
Mhm.
So this match wasn't a late add-on last week. Very good match. We saw that the brothers from Top Flight, that they've got real wrestling skill and abilities. Top Flight are high flyers. They did give TH2 a good run for their money. Showed that they weren't going to back down from them. TH2. They do their typical tactics, but they too have skills. They have, many years of experience between Angelico's submission ability and Jack Evans' agility and skill. Also being a high flyer with a veteran, it's, what is it, almost 20 years, I think it is, of him doing this and all this. So it went back and forth. Many high spots, dives over the top rope into the outside, and then you see in the end that Angelico gets a little leg lock on one of the brothers, and it causes him to tap out, and TH2 gets a victory over Top Flight.
Yeah, which is right exactly where it needs to be right there, because Top Flight needs some more matches, really.
Yeah.
AEW is all about that record, so.
Yeah, they say, records matter. And so, but this was a really good match for Top Flight because they get to show more of their ability and skill, and TH2 gets a bit more exposure, which I'm sure will lead to them with the Young Bucks and various other tag teams.
Yeah. All right, man.
We did have another tag team match. It was SCU versus the Inner Circle, dealing with the Demo God Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. All the Inner Circle was out there, even Sammy. He wasn't at the beach or anything. So we see, MJF, Wardlow, Santana Ortiz all out there.
What happened to the Matt Hardy stuff with Sammy? That just kind of fizzled out.
I think with the final deletion, that's where they wanted to end it, because they just wanted to end that feud, I think, as quick as possible. Yeah,
because they're moving on.
Just to get on with it. So another good match. Actually, in this match, this was the very first time that Christopher Daniels and Chris Jericho had ever faced each other in any company. Anywhere in the world, this was their very first time going at each other.
Sure, I mean, pretty much, understandable, but still amazing, because Chris has been around for so long.
I know. Chris Jericho, he has 30 years of experience, where Christopher Daniels has actually 27 years. So between them, 57 years of wrestling experience all over this world, up and down the road.
Nitro, seeing Chris Daniels on, Jobber match.
Yeah, right? It was he was in one of the matches on the very last night. The same night, AJ Styles was there in a tag match.
Isn't that fun?
And Christopher Daniels had long black hair.
Right,
yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first time I ever saw Christopher Daniels or AJ Styles. Was in that WCW.
That's amazing. You can remember anything from that year of WCW.
Well, it was the very last one.
I remember the last episode just because of the Flair Sting and all that.
I remember who AJ Styles tagged with that night.
All right.
Because he was a guy...
What was the main event of WCW 2001 Greed?
Was that the very last?
I think that was the last one. I think it was Greed.
Wasn't that the Sting and Ric Flair match?
No, that was Nitro. What was the main event of their last pay-per-view, which was, I think, Greed?
Oh, man.
Yeah, right. I don't know.
I can remember that.
It was probably Steiner and Booker T or something, but
it's a possibility.
You know what I mean?
It was probably. I mean, I wouldn't see why not.
Okay.
I think Booker T was a champ around that.
It was like Steiner and Book were like kind of going back and forth.
But this was a really good match. SCU, they've teamed for, like it feels like 10 years now. They've been tagging together at various places where they're Impact, Ring of Honor.
Who was Kazarian tag partners with before
with Fallen Angel? He mostly did a lot of singles.
Was Frankie just a singles?
Yeah, because I
remember Triple X.
Yeah, because
Daniels and Elix Skipper and
Low Key. Yeah, they were tag teams. So
that was
Christopher Daniels has tagged with a lot of guys.
But Frankie was on his own. Why am I thinking Chris Sabin? Were they just friends?
They were friends because Sabin and Alex Shelley, they were friends with Jericho, Kaz.
Well, I mean, before the Motor City Machine Guns, Chris Sabin had that X Division run.
Yeah, he was mostly a big singles guy.
He went like heel and face and all that.
Right, he went back and forth. But yeah, between the Guns, Styles, and the two members of the SCU, they were all friends and buddies back in the Impact days and stuff like that. And so
love that era.
So you saw Jack Hager using his strength and Jericho using his cunning and experience with how it goes. Again, another match that went back and forth. It was very entertaining. Kazarian doing 2-on-1s at one point with Jericho and Hager. But in the end, Christopher Daniels gets caught with a Judas effect, knocking him out while he was the illegal man after Hager caused Kazarian to get the attention of the referee.
Okay.
Hager gets the pin, and then after they get the win, the Inner Circle just attacks SCU, but they get saved by Scorpio Sky coming out with a steel chair chasing them off. And they're very proud of themselves. They did have a brand new Inner Circle shirt.
Well, you got to do that.
Black shirt with the IC and a little red eye in the middle.
He knows how to merchandise. That little bit of the bubbly commercial has been going strong.
Yeah, it has. So one of the next matches we had was the AEW Women's title was actually being defended on Dynamite and not the NWA Women's title for once.
But I'd rather see the NWA Women's title. At least you get Thunder Rosa with that.
Not always. Remember.
Still.
But it had my gal, Sheeta, going against the Dark Order's Anna Jay.
Well, I like Sheeta.
Oh.
She reminds me of that comic book character, She.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with Anna Jay, the Dark Order members were sitting or standing up on the stage, but she did have in her corner Ty Conte because they're such good friends now. A very good match. Anna Jay, trying to prove that, she's not just, somebody who's been in wrestling for, less than 2 years, but shows that she had the ability and possibility of being a champ. It was a good little back and forth. Sheeta showing, why she's the champ and why she's held it longer than any of the other women, taking on all challengers. At one point, Anna Jay wanted Tay Conte to give her a steel chair to try and get an advantage. The referee saw this, got it from her, and Stu Grayson threw a kendo stick into the ring, which was Sheeta's. She smashed Sheeta in the shin, knee area, trying to get that advantage, chucked it out, tried to use a little chicanery to steal the championship from her. Sheeta, being the champ that she is, overcomes all the little obstacles there, and she ends up nailing Anna Jay with her little version of a Shining Wizard style move, knocks her out, 1, 2, 3, Sheeta's still the champ. Anna Jay gets carried away by Ty Conte. The Dark Order leaves, and then before Sheeta can leave ringside, Abaddon returns.
Oh, okay.
Because Abaddon it came back from an injury that she had in a match that never got viewed by anybody. Actually.
Oh, I was about to say, I don't remember that.
Yeah, she. There was a match that was supposed to have been on a couple weeks back. It was Abaddon versus Ty Conte. But I guess maybe Tay Conte might have caught Abaddon in some way. I don't know what the injury was, but it was apparently severe enough to where she was taken to the hospital for observation just to make sure that it wasn't more serious than what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But Abaddon came in, got the belt, licked it. She was pretty much dripping of blood from her mouth and all that.
What's going on?
Pretty much stating that she wants to be the next one to get a shot at that title.
That belt could have been anywhere looking at like that.
I know. So, I mean, we've seen these two fight once before. It was actually Abaddon's match against Sheeta on Dark, which actually got her signed to AEW. So, This should be a very interesting match. We'll see how that pans out in the coming weeks.
So I guess what else is going? Wait, what else is? Something happened with Eddie Kingston this week.
Sure. There was the official. There was a thing with the official contract signing because last week we did see John Moxley get attacked by somebody, not knowing who, and he actually had a confrontation with Eddie Kingston. They got in his face, and Eddie pretty much told him, you know who probably did it. You're a smart boy. We've had our moment together and all that, so you go do you. I've got my own problems.
Mm-hmm.
So John Moxley, and we see Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega is going to be coming out. He's doing his little cleaner thing with the little sheet and all that stuff, and the next thing you know, you see
Were the girls in sync this time? A couple weeks there, it's like
I think maybe they were this week. I wasn't
getting it down,
yeah.
Down.
I wasn't paying attention to their choreography.
Well,
but if they need help with that, I'm sure Sonny Kiss could do that because he was a dancer and he knows choreography quite well.
There you go.
And so we end up seeing the shadowy figure attack another one, and it ends up being John Moxley attacks Kenny Omega in the walkway.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much basically accuses him of being the one that attacked him, trying to knock him down. Figured that the issue they had a year ago was squashed, but apparently not. Gives him a paradigm shift right there in the ring. Tells him be ready next week because next week is going to be the AEW title match between these two on December 2nd. And signs his name to it. Tells Tony Schiavone thanks for this moment and goes on his way with his belt. Basically.
And Tony Schiavone said this is the greatest night in the history of professional wrestling.
Wearing those pink pants.
Yeah, it was greater than the Kiss Demon. It was greater than RoboCop, Sessel.
Well, not many things are. So, after we had that little segment there, we actually had Butcher and Blade in the main event going against Pac and Ray Phoenix, members of the Death Triangle. Which this was a really good match. I mean, lot of different moves. You know, Pac showed that he doesn't really have that ring rust that you would expect for a guy who hadn't wrestled in 8 months. The cohesion between him and Ray Phoenix was decent, you know, because they really haven't had opportunities to tag with one another, unlike Butcher and Blade, who have been tagging for quite some time.
No, that's a good combination.
Yeah, because they both have good high-flying abilities, a lot of experience between the two because they both wrestled for quite some time. It definitely goes back and forth. The Bunny was out at ringside. You know, Eddie Kingston also at ringside as well.
C.W. Anderson's guy.
Yeah.
That guy. No,
yeah. C.W. Anderson actually retired this year.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, his last match was on NWA and I guess a few months back.
Okay.
But in the end, Butcher and Blade did get the advantage. They did pin, I believe it was Ray Phoenix in one of their moves. I don't remember which one exactly it was. Since they do like to use that suplex into the knees, which I think is a really weak one. The powerbomb neckbreaker one, I think, is a better one for them. But they can always choose whichever one they want to use. So they get the win. They started doing the bit of a beatdown, but Penta comes out with a chair, sort of chases them off. And so we're definitely going to see a lot more between these two groups, between Death Triangle and Eddie Kingston, with Butcher, Blade, and the Bunny.
Well, that's what it is. They're done with Moxley. They got to have something.
Yeah.
They're a faction. They got to battle of the factions.
Well, I think with all these factions, we're going to see a lot of them. And the good thing about that is that'll set up for when AEW, assuming next year, probably in the spring or summertime, when they introduce the 6-man tag match titles, or maybe they'll call them the trios titles, whatever they want to go by. But I see something coming from that, you know. So they're setting up all this stuff for future possibilities for the next kind of title belts that'll be coming to AEW.
All right, sounds good.
So,
well,
so that'll leave us with the WWE.
Oh, well, there was nothing much. Riddle was really funny.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. He was hilarious.
Did they have any interesting segments or shoots?
There was just a segment where Riddle was like with MVP going, I need to talk to the Ashley because, bro, I got ideas, bro. And it was just MVP putting up with him.
Really?
It's kind of like, yeah, I don't think he wants anything to do with you, bro. Or something like that, but no, there was nothing really.
I did see that there was, I guess, a tag team match between the New Day and the Hurt Business again. I guess.
Well, yeah, something about like how the New Day's kind of going heel now.
They feel
retreating.
Yeah, like there was some kind of count out or whatever,
which definitely makes sense. Please, New Day, Kofi and Xavier go heel, not Big E.
Yeah,
don't do this. So I think this makes sense and it's good. Yeah,
from what it sounded like is that the Hurt Business were screaming for them to come back and fight in the match, you know, and they did. And I guess this was supposed to be a way to have the Hurt Business get a win and look strong.
And they look like faces too.
Yeah, and you got,
which is good. I don't mind that one bit. I don't know if that was their plan, but
so, yeah.
I mean, Xavier. They need to capitalize on the fact that Xavier has hardly been there for any of their success.
Right.
So he's really more of a heel thing anyway, if you build it right.
Yeah, so this New Day, which is now more like a 2-day.
And just kind of have Xavier getting Kofi's ear. It's like, you know, Big E always wanted to be alone.
Yeah.
He didn't want you there. He didn't appreciate you winning the championship or nothing. And have Kofi kind of, you know, because Kofi's character will always be, if he's a heel, it would be under influence. You know, like a baby face, like Trick.
Yeah.
You know, because Kofi's always, he's like Ricky Steamboat. He's never really a heel. Or you can't really believe him as a heel. It's kind of, where you know he's a heel because he doesn't know any better.
Right,
because of his friend.
Some guys, they just they just don't pull off heel like other guys just really can't pull off face. You know, like
Some guys got all the heel.
like Miz could never be a face, not at least a really believable one. You know, some guys are just.
Miz can't be a believable anything.
But
He can be a believable ass.
was there any other stuff that was going on with
Shotzi's building her tank.
getting it ready for NXT?
NXT was good.
NXT's little
we
war
watched
game.
that tonight in the War Games. You know, McAfee's faction. You know, Pete Dunne got the win over O'Reilly, so they're entering first. They're getting the advantage of War Games.
Due to outside interference.
Right, and then Shotzi's team kind of got blindsided. Shotzi wasn't there, but
Right.
you know,
Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai got beat down. And
Yeah,
Tony
by
Storm
four.
went bad.
yeah. Tony Storm. It started out with Tony Storm kind of turning on Ember Moon and throwing her to the wolves, so to speak.
Yeah.
But that's about it for NXT too. And honestly, I mean, I don't remember anything else for Raw. So this isn't the show you watch for WWE stuff too much, because even when I watch it, it's not that memorable.
It's just got a lot of the same old kind of campy stuff. That
We're
just don't
we're
come-
catering to all the other wrestlers.
Right. I mean,
We don't need to give the WWE too much time.
No, they get
They
enough
have
time.
plenty
with
of
every
time on their
other-
own.
Yeah.
Plenty of people out there that drag on for hours about how horrible they are. We don't need to do it.
No. And
This is the good wrestling review show. This is
That's
the
right.
one where we
That's
talk about all of the people getting fair
that's right.
shakes.
That's why we've got the moniker. We watch the stuff, so you don't have to. We let you know about the stuff in the smaller stuff that you might miss, because one of these days, if the WWE doesn't try and steal them from under AEW's nose and all that, AEW will sign them, or even they'll even go to Impact. And it's good, at least we let you know who these people are before somebody tries to tell you
Yeah,
who they are.
at this point, the simple exposure they get from the WWE is really the only bonus or the only bright side right now.
Right.
We know that when these people do leave WWE, if they were never used right, like Ricochet or Aleister Black, for example,
Who
they're made people, now they can go anywhere.
Yeah, and with Aleister Black, I mean, you might as well get a countdown ticker started with him, because whatever the
Him and Ricochet, they should leave together. You know, it should be what the what they call the faction WCW, when Benoit and Guerrero and Saturn
The
and
Invasion?
Malenko. No, they were the Renegades.
Oh, the
or-
Renegades. Yeah,
They
yeah.
should do something like that, like a modern day, to where like there's some renegades that come from WWF over to AEW.
That would be
Like
funny.
at the same time,
Basically,
like Ricochet,
steal
Aleister.
the old 20-year-old ID.
Why not? Cody needs to make just a theme of anything he can get away with that's ripping them off in any way. He needs to do it, just as like a jab, you know.
Well, AEW does like to throw that occasional jab and shot at them in some way. I mean, let's face it. I sort of laughed because I understood the reference a couple of AEW Darks back when him and Excalibur were talking about the enhancement wrestler Ryzen when he was facing, I think it was Frankie Kazarian or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And they joked and he goes, "Man, that guy's a terror Ryzen, you know?
Terrorize.
Would anybody get over with that name? No, because it's stupid."
That guy's a total mantar.
Yeah, I mean, and if you
terrorizing.
don't, and if there's anybody out there
That's
that
funny.
didn't get or understand that, Terror Ryzen was actually Triple H's first wrestling name when he first started wrestling in the Florida regions and stuff.
That's
That was
great.
his name,
Terror
Terror
Ryzen.
Ryzen. So it was a slight little jab at a very, very old name.
What about Vinny Vegas?
Oh my god, yeah.
What
Some
about
of them,
Oz? What about, oh God, how many did Kevin Nash alone have?
the Yeti, was he the Yeti?
The
too?
Yeti. Not that, in fact, was the greatest night in the history of our sport.
No,
The Yeti hump. The
no.
Oreo sandwich that was Hogan with the Yeti, and who's the other guy, the giant? Or was-
Maybe I guess. No.
All right, that was great though, man. Yeah, well, I mean, you know, we put so much importance on WWE, we choose to do this at the same time SmackDown's on. So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
And-
It just tells you we just want to.
It's on Hulu without commercials. It's a lot easier.
Yeah. Why waste yourself with all that extra time of commercials?
All right. Well, with that, anything else?
There was one last little thing. There was a gentleman who worked for Impact Wrestling. His name was Bob Ryder. He passed away actually on Tuesday. I'm not sure of if it was by natural causes or if it was because of some outside force, being a cancer or whatnot. But Bob Ryder, from what I found out, was a gentleman who also did help found and help create a lot of great moments that happened in the Impact slash TNA eras and all that. He was a good company man and a guy that I know a lot of people in that company are going to miss. And I just wanted to throw that out there because anybody who works in the business, whether they are behind the camera, in front of the camera, work in the ring, or help commentate and all that, should always be remembered for trying to bring wrestling fans great product, great stories. And if this was a person, Bob Ryder was a guy who's going to be completely missed, definitely by the Impact company, because he did bring us a whole lot of great memories when it comes to the past. So rest in peace, Bob Ryder.
Well said. With that, Wrestling Figure Forum is done for this week.
Yep. I'm Sessel Smith. This
I'm
is Jason Horton.
Jason.
And we'll see you same time next week, this Friday.
Same Wrestle Channel. Same Wrestle Channel.
So everybody out there, remember, hit the subscribe, the notifications, leave a comment. Let us know if you got any questions, if there's anything that we might have missed or that you'd want us to bring up. We'll gladly get to it.
Do the thing.
So you guys take care, and we'll see you next time.
Dig it.